Hi everybody, welcome to Top Tip Tuesday. Today, tips about diving from RHIBs or rigid hulled inflatable boats. So RHIB should strictly be spelt with an H, but divers use them to get to dive sites that are just too far to swim to or just too dangerous for a larger boat to go near from. But we don't always teach you how to dive from RHIBs. It's just kind of skills that you need to pick up yourself when you're a qualified diver. So I'm going to help you out. Help you cut some corners for you so that you know just a few tips on how to dive from a RHIB. RHIBs are small and nippy and you're much closer to the surface of the water, so it doesn't take very much for spray to pick up and then just slap you in the face. Now, a little bit of seawater in your eyes isn't too bad, but just repeated constant slaps can just be a real pain. Luckily for you, you're actually carrying a very specialized piece of equipment that is specifically designed to keep water out from your eyes. So just put your mask on and keep it on, and you're just going to be free from stinging eyes and you can see what's going on. So for that entire journey, just put your mask on. It's very important, especially on smaller RHIBs, to keep weight as evenly distributed as possible so that when you're boarding, if there's 3 people on one side and no one on the other side, then sit on that other side to try and even the weight out on both sides. You should always be sitting opposite somebody, and ideally your buddy, so that you can check their gear out, they can check your gear out, and try and keep everything as even as possible so that the RHIB literally doesn't tip over. When you're traveling, you also want to be as far back as possible on the RHIB. It helps to keep the bow up in the water so the RHIB can cut through the water a bit smoother, and it also has the benefit of reducing water spray again. There tends to be less spray the further back you are in the RHIB, and you can actually use the diver in front of you as a bit of a shield to protect yourself from that water splashing onto you. Right before you roll back into the water, shuffle out a bit, because divers, of course, they bunch up towards the back of the RHIB in transit. You need to kind of shuffle yourself back out and try and make it as even as possible to give yourself as much space either side. So when you roll back, because it isn't always as graceful as in Instagram videos. Hands and fins just kind of go everywhere and divers flail around. So try to get as far from other divers when you get ready to roll back. If there's enough space on the RHIB, try and turn diagonally so that you're facing forwards, and that way the bottom of your cylinder can actually rest on the side of the tender that you're sitting on. It kind of takes the weight of the cylinder off of your shoulders, but do be careful with this one. It's best to only do this in quite calm waters, or if you're just sort of sitting and waiting to take the weight of the cylinder off of your back. In rough waters, with all of the bouncing, it can literally bounce the bottom of the tank upwards. So if your tank is quite close to the back of your head, you're just going to get a headache. So do be careful with that one. When you're ready to roll back, lean forwards so the weight of the cylinder is over your shoulders, and stick your butt out as far as possible, as far as it sticks, and then wait for the word go. Both sides have to roll at the same time, again to prevent the RHIB from rolling over. If only one side goes over, all the weight is on one side and the boat can flip over. I prefer to have very little gas in my BCD when I actually do roll in, so that I don't bob straight back up to the surface instantly. Gives me a moment to just kick away a little bit from the other divers and the actual spinning propeller. All around the sides of the inflatable tenders, you'll find a rope. Hold onto this as much as you can. In transit, the rope holds you down in place and stops you from bouncing up every few seconds. It kind of anchors you down, so hold on to that. It's quite easy to sit on the rope because it's right on top of the tender. So, of course, just make sure that you don't sit down on someone else's hand for a real awkward conversation later. And when you're trying to get back into the RHIB from the water, use that rope to pull yourself up. They're really useful, and more divers should use it instead of just, there's nothing else to hold on to a RHIB really, just use that rope. There is a trick to getting back into a RHIB from the water. First of all, take off everything heavy like your weights and your BCD. Keep your mask and your fins on though. These will help you out. Then it's all about timing, because the boat naturally rocks up and down with the waves. You want to hold onto that rope and push yourself under water. Then as the side of your rib goes up out of the water, it's pulling you up as you're swimming up as well. And then as you're breaking up through the surface, that side of the rib is then going to be bobbing back down, and your momentum is going to lift you up high enough so that all you have to do is just twist a little bit and then sit on the side of the rib with your legs in the water. It's a lot easier than it sounds, but it's mainly down to timing. At this stage, when you're back into the rib, tidy your gear up because it tends to get piled up at the bow of the rib. Grab your camera and anything else delicate that's on your BCD and pull that free so that the next gear doesn't just end up on top of it. The same for your regulators as well. Try to tuck them away safely so that they don't get crunched under the next cylinder. Anything that's vaguely delicate, you kind of want to tuck it away so it's less likely to get damaged. And finally, when the next diver is trying to get in after you, as much as you want to help them out, try to keep your weight on the far side from them of the rib. If you're both on the same side with your weight over the edge, of course it can tip the rib over. Once there are 2 or more bodies on board to even it out, then yeah, of course you can help the diver out of the water. For larger ribs, it shouldn't be too much of an issue because they do tend to have a decent amount of sort of weight to even it out. But smaller ribs, yeah, be careful not to capsize them by putting all of the weight on one side. And there we have it, a few tips that should help you out diving from a rib. Ribs are good fun, but it can be quite easy to go just a little bit too fast or corner too short sharply, but some of those tips should help you out if you've never been on a rib before. Take this moment to like this video and subscribe to the Simply Scuba channel because we release all sorts of interesting videos like this every single week. Subscribe if you haven't already, and of course head over to simplyscuba.com for the latest scuba diving equipment. Thank you for watching everybody, and of course, safe diving.